My name is Allison Crown. I'm 35, and I'm the founder and CEO of Aether Analytics. When my dad invited me to his 60th birthday party at Le Jardin de Lumière in New York City, I thought maybe things would change. Despite having built a company worth over $500 million, I had always been the odd one out in my family's eyes, having chosen an odd path. That night, they seated me at a table on the outdoor patio while everyone else celebrated inside. "The patio is for people who haven't achieved real success," my brother Daniel said, laughing. He didn't know my helicopter was already in the air. Sometimes fate gives you a chance to speak louder than words. If you've ever felt undervalued by those who should be your champions, subscribe, like, and tell us in the comments where you are now, and if there were any moments when you proved your worth to those who didn't believe in you. But let's go back to the beginning. I grew up in Greenwich, Connecticut, in a family with a strong idea of success. Princeton, a career in a bank or a large corporation, membership in a club, and a house in a gated community. My father, Robert Crown, was the manager of one of the oldest banks in the country. For him, success was stability, reputation, and connections. My mother, Lindsay, played the role of a supportive wife all her life, never arguing with her husband. But my older brother, Daniel, is a carbon copy of him. Student body president, an internship at my father's company, early admission to Princeton. And me? At 10, I took our first computer apart to figure out how it worked. At 14, I wrote my first program, a congratulatory script for my mother's birthday. My dad said it was fun, but useless. "It's a hobby," he said. "A real career is built in a bank or law school." I went to Columbia University and got a double degree in information technology and business analytics. At my graduation, my dad gave a toast. "I'm proud of Daniel, who's starting his career in a bank. And I hope that Allison will find herself somewhere other than these screens." At university, I met Sophia, the future co-founder of Aether. After graduating, we assembled a team of 3 and began building a data analytics platform for small businesses. Daniel called it temporary idleness before adulthood. My parents were just worried that I had missed the opportunity to get a normal job. The first years were hard. Fast food, rented apartment with 3 roommates, 20-hour workdays. Meanwhile, Daniel bought an apartment in the center of Manhattan, a BMW, and vacationed in Barbados. On New Year's holidays, he showed off his new watch, and I tried to explain that we launched a new sales forecasting algorithm. "That's interesting," my father said, clearly not listening. Then came the first investments, the first clients, the first offices. But in the family, everything remained the same. "You have a company?" my father asked. "So, you do IT consulting?" Every holiday is a test. Every dinner is a test of strength. This year, I decided to give them one last chance. To come, to be polite, to show that I am not the kind of person who can be ignored. If nothing changes, I will no longer ask for their approval. After months of hard work on the DataSphere X deal, I felt like things were starting to come together. We had closed key contracts, reached a new level of customer trust, and the market was starting to notice that Aether Analytics wasn't just another tech startup story. We were on the brink of something bigger. But there was still a quiet worry in my heart. Will things change at home? So when I received an invitation to my father's 60th birthday party, I held it in my hands for a long time. It was printed on thick black paper with gold embossing, a classic style of my mother, who always kept an eye on the details of social life. Inside was a stern text. "Sincerely, Robert and Lindsay Crown invite you to celebrate Robert's anniversary venue, Le Jardin de Lumière. Date, May 21st. Time, 7 p.m., black tie optional." I looked at my desk, littered with documents, printed financial forecasts, folders with investor presentations. On the wall was a world map with our offices marked New York, San Francisco, Singapore. I was the CEO of a company worth more than $500 million. But inside me, the girl from Greenwich woke up again, who wanted to hear at least one thing from her father. "I'm proud of you." "It's just a family dinner," Sophia told me when I showed her the invitation. "Maybe for the first time he'll hear me." She looked at me silently, then sighed. "You say that every time. And every time you come home, a slightly different person." I smiled. She knew me better than anyone, but I decided to try anyway. One last time. A week before the dinner, I ordered a dress. A strict, dark blue, almost black. Not too fashionable so as not to provoke a sharp comment from Daniel, but elegant enough to emphasize my status. As a gift to my father, I chose a book, The History of Banking in America. An expensive edition, leather binding, vintage style. I wanted to show that I, too, can play by their rules, just not for their sake, for my own. In the last days before the dinner, the situation with Datasphere X began to heat up. Our team had been working on the possibility of buying this company for several months. It perfectly complemented our analytical products. But competitor TechForge began to actively show interest, and now everything depended on one decisive move. "They can make an offer before us," CFO Thomas told me on Tuesday evening. "We have to be ready for a countermove." I nodded, looking at the screen where the growth charts and forecasts were displayed. "Prepare the counterparty options. I need to be informed every minute." He left, and I was left alone. I sat, looked out the window, and thought, tomorrow night I will be sitting at the family table, and in a couple of days I will probably close the most important deal in the history of the company. I wonder if they will know about it. I wonder if they will even care. On Friday morning, I woke up to the first alarming message. TechForge made a direct offer to Datasphere X, possibly higher than our current valuation. My heart sank. I immediately called Thomas. We discussed the action plan, determined the limits, agreed to meet after dinner. The phone beeped again. A reminder that today, at 7 in the evening, I had to be at the restaurant. A couple of hours later, I was already in a taxi, driving along the evening New York street, illuminated by lanterns and signs. The city felt like a living, breathing organism, and I felt my thoughts jumping between two worlds, business and personal. In one, billions of dollars, innovation, thousands of users dependent on our software. In the other, a brother who calls my business a passionate hobby, and a father who still asks, "Are you sure you don't want to try cans?" The restaurant greeted me with warm lighting and a polite doorman. He checked the guest list, bowed slightly, and led me inside. I expected to be led to the central table where my parents, Daniel and his wife, were sitting. Instead, I was led to the side, to a pair of glass doors that led to an outdoor terrace. "You'll be here," he said, pointing to a small table in the corner, almost hidden behind a screen of houseplants. I looked at him, then at the room, where everyone else was already seated. At the large table, my father in the center, my mother beside him, Daniel laughing, raising a glass. Everything in its element. "Did I make a mistake?" the doorman asked hesitantly. "No," I said. It's normal." As I sat down at the table, I felt a chill not only in the air but in my thoughts as well. I sat there alone, seeing them through the glass, hearing laughter and toasts that didn't include me. My mother glanced at me from time to time, but she never stood up. My father didn't even turn around. 10 minutes later, Daniel came out to me, holding a glass of champagne. "Hi, Allison. Are you leaving already?" "I just got here." "Well, you're bored here, aren't you?" He chuckled. "You like your numbers more than you like people." "I just want to know why I'm at the wrong table." "There wasn't enough space," he said, taking a sip. "And you're probably more comfortable here. You don't really fit in with this world." His words didn't surprise me. They were as predictable as a sunset. but the pain was still there. An hour later, I received a message from Thomas. TechForge has formalized its offer. $1.1 billion in cash. We need our response within 2 hours. I stood up. My heart was beating fast but determined. Are you leaving already? Daniel asked again, appearing out of nowhere. Yes, I answered. I have work. You always find a reason to run away. Sometimes work is more important than a holiday. You always have reasons. Maybe you're just afraid to sit at the same table with us? No, I answered quietly. I just know where I'm appreciated and where I'm not. I went outside, took out my phone, and dialed the pilot. Jake, pick me up. I need to get to the office. Somewhere deep inside I knew. This wasn't just leaving. This was the moment I chose myself. Not my family. Not approval. Not the memories of what my father wanted me to be. But my path. My life. And the company I created not to impress anyone. The helicopter was already in the air. The phone beeped again. It was Thomas, our CFO. TechForge had formally made an offer to DataSphere X. $1.1 billion in cash. They needed our response within 2 hours. I looked at the screen, then at the glass, where I could see my family. Laughing, raising glasses, discussing something important. But clearly not me. My insides tightened. I knew that if I didn't leave now, I would miss a moment that could determine the future of Aether Analytics. I have to go, I said quietly, to myself. Are you leaving already? Daniel asked, as if he'd heard my thoughts. He rematerialized next to me, holding a glass of wine. Would you like to at least try dessert? I have a meeting to attend. Work again? Maybe you're just afraid to sit with us? No, I said, standing up. I just know where I'm valued and where I'm not. He opened his mouth to say something venomous, but I was already heading for the exit. Slowly but surely. No drama. No tears. Just going to a place where my life mattered. Outside, I took out my phone and dialed the pilot. Jake, pick me up. I need to get to the office. 10 minutes later, the helicopter was hovering over the park, ready to land. People were stopping, looking up. Someone was filming on their phone. I knew it was dramatic. But I wasn't in the mood for theatrics. It was just a way to get where I was needed. On the way to the office, I contacted the team. Sarah, gather everyone. We're making a counteroffer. Are you serious? She asked. They're offering more than us. Yeah, but we're offering more than money. We're offering strategy, integration, opportunities for their team. We're not buying a company, we're creating a partnership. She paused, then said quietly, Okay. We're waiting for you. When I landed on the roof of the office, the team was already waiting. The conference room was lit up with monitors, and TechForge's proposals, charts, financial models, and legal documents were laid out on the tables. They're going to hold a board vote at midnight, Sarah reported. If we don't make it by then, they'll vote in favor of TechForge. Then we'll make it, I said. What are our options? We worked quickly. Within an hour, we had a new plan, $1.25 billion with partial earnings out, guarantees for key employees, technical integration, long-term growth goals. We weren't just offering money, we were offering a future. Are you sure we can pull this off? Thomas asked. We have to, I said. This isn't just a deal. This is a turning point for the entire company. And for me too. At 11:40, we sent the proposal. The answer was supposed to come in 40 minutes. While we were waiting, I rested a little. I lay down on the leather sofa in my office, looking out the window at the city. Streetlights, car lights, an endless moving mass. And I am one of many points in this huge world. But today, one point can change everything. The cell phone rang. It was my father. I didn't want to pick up the phone, but I figured that since he finally dialed my number, something had happened. Hi, Dad. Allison, what's going on? What kind of helicopter? Why did you leave? Because I had a meeting, I answered calmly. Is it true that you're trying to buy this company? Yes. It's important for us, for the entire direction of development. It's worth almost $1 billion. Almost $1.5 billion, to be honest. He fell silent. I didn't know you were at that level. His voice sounded strange. Not angry, not skeptical. Almost cautious. Almost respectful. I've been there for a long time, I said. You just weren't interested in knowing before. He sighed. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe I need to understand what you do. At least a little. Come to the office, I said. See for yourself. Just don't tell me the terrace is for losers. He snorted. The first time in our entire lives that he even smiled slightly in a conversation with me. Okay, I'll think about it. We ended the call. 5 minutes later, Datasphere responded. The decision was made. We choose Aether Analytics. The room exploded with applause, hugs, laughter, joy. I stood up, went to the window, and closed my eyes. This day started on a restaurant terrace and ended with us closing the biggest deal in the company's history. And maybe it wasn't just a step forward for Aether. It was a step forward for me. To stop asking for approval, to start living in accordance with who I am, not who they wanted me to be. The helicopter touched down on the roof of Aether Analytics offices at 10:15 p.m. The team was waiting below. I stepped out, the cold night air on my face, my heart still pounding from the accelerated pace of events. We were ready, but I knew it would be difficult. They've increased their offer to $1.6 billion, Thomas said as I walked into the conference room. Clean. No strings attached. Just cash. I rolled up my sleeves. I sat down at the table. Charts, legal documents, forecasts flashed across the screens. We'd been discussing options all along, but now we had to make a decision. What do our analysts say? I asked. Sarah, our strategist, held up her tablet. If we go above $1.65 billion, we'll have to rethink our financing structure. The banks will want additional guarantees. Shareholders might get nervous. Then we'll be cautious but decisive, I said. We need this deal. It's not just about money. It's about strategy. Combining technology, people, and vision. We're not buying a company. We're partnering. We worked nonstop. While everyone around us was moving fast, I tried to keep my head clear. My cell phone beeped again. A message from my mother. Your father wants to talk to you. He read the articles. About you. I put the phone face down. Not now. This was my game, and I was playing it my way. An hour into the meeting, Martin Phillips, CEO of Datasphere X, arrived. He was tall, thin, with dark circles under his eyes, a man who had also spent the night awake. He extended his hand. Allison, I'm glad you could come, even if it meant a family event. Some things are more important than dinner, I said, smiling faintly. He nodded. Over the years, he knew what it was like to be underestimated. He started from scratch, just like me. We were similar. Only our paths were different. TechForge is offering $1.6 billion. All cash, he said, looking me straight in the eye. It's a good offer. No unnecessary risks. Yes, I agreed, but they're buying you to destroy the competition. In 6 months, your team will fall apart. Your technology will become part of their product, and you will lose control over what you created. A pause. He thought about it. And you? We're offering $1.65 billion. Of that, $1.2 billion right away. The rest is in Aether shares. The condition is that you stay. Your team stays. The integration is complete. But you retain autonomy. Your company won't disappear. It will become part of something bigger. I showed him the plan: integration schemes, growth forecasts, a development roadmap. He stared at the screen for a long time. Then he turned his gaze to his team. "They want you to be part of the negotiations," he said finally. "They want to hear your voices." 2 hours. Endless questions. Technical details, financial terms, employee guarantees. We discussed everything from the timing of the transition to the roles of key engineers. Every word mattered. At 12:30 a.m., Martin stood up. His people did too. He walked around the table and extended his hand to me. "We accept your offer." The room erupted, not in shouts or applause, but in silence, punctuated by smiles, relieved sighs, quick glances. This was the moment we'd been waiting for. The moment that could change everything. I stood up. I shook his hand. "Welcome to Aether." I walked out onto the terrace. The city was quiet but alive. Lights from windows, headlights, flickering signs. I looked down and thought, they're out there, behind the glass of the restaurant, still celebrating. And here I am. I did something they never expected. Not because I wanted their approval, just because it was mine. The phone beeped again. Lots of messages. One from my mother, another from my father. The last one was from Daniel. "We need to talk, seriously." I didn't answer. Not yet. Instead, I dialed Sophia. "We got Datasphere X," I said when she answered. "I know. The whole team knows. The whole city, I think." "It's true. We did it. You did it. Number we did." She paused. "And now what?" "Now I'll call my mother. Then I'll sleep. And tomorrow, a new chapter will begin." After the helicopter touched down on the roof of Aether Analytics, I went straight to the conference room. It was 10:30 p.m. My team was waiting with documents, charts, printed offers from TechForge, and preliminary agreements. We were ready. But this was just the first step. The hardest part was yet to come. They increased the offer to $1.6 billion in cash, Thomas said, looking me straight in the eye. No strings attached. Just cash. I rolled up my sleeves, walked to the table, and sat down. Charts, legal documents, and forecasts flashed across the screens. We'd been discussing options the entire way here, but now we had to make a decision. "What do our analysts say?" I asked. Sarah, our strategist, held up her tablet. "If we go above $1.65 billion, we'll have to rethink the financing structure. The banks will require additional guarantees. The shareholders may start to worry." "Then we'll be cautious, but decisive," I replied. "We want this deal. It's not just about the money, it's about strategy, combining technology, people, vision. We're not buying a company, we're creating a partnership." We worked nonstop. While everyone around us was moving fast, I tried to keep my head clear. My cell phone beeped again. A message from my mother. "Dad wants to talk to you. He read the articles about you." I put the phone face down. Not now. This was my game, and I was playing it my way. An hour into the meeting, Martin Phillips, CEO of Datasphere X, arrived. He was tall, thin, with dark circles under his eyes, a man who had also spent the night awake. He extended his hand. "Allison, I'm glad you could come, even if it meant a family event." "Some things are more important than dinner," I said, smiling weakly. He nodded. Over the years, he knew what it was, like to be underestimated. He started from scratch, just like me. We were similar, only our paths were different. "TechForge is offering $1.6 billion, all cash," he said, looking me straight in the eye. "It's a good offer? No unnecessary risks." "Yes," I agreed. "But they're buying you to destroy the competition. In 6 months, your team will fall apart. Your technology will become part of their product, and you will lose control over what you created." A pause. He thought about it. And you? We're offering $1.65 billion. Of that, $1.2 billion right away. The rest is in Ether shares. The condition is that you stay. Your team stays. The integration is complete. But you retain autonomy. Your company won't disappear. It will become part of something bigger. I showed him the plan. Integration schemes, growth forecasts, a development roadmap. He stared at the screen for a long time. Then he turned his gaze to his team. They want you to be part of the negotiations, he said finally. They want to hear your voices. 2 hours. Endless questions, technical details, financial terms, employee guarantees. We discussed everything from the timing of the transition to the roles of key engineers. Every word mattered. At 12:30 a.m., Martin stood up. His people did too. He walked around the table and extended his hand to me. We accept your offer. The room erupted. Not in shouts or applause, but in silence, punctuated by smiles, relieved sighs, quick glances. This was the moment we'd been waiting for. The moment that could change everything. I stood up. I shook his hand. Welcome to Aether. I walked out onto the terrace. The city was quiet, but alive. Lights from windows, headlights, flickering signs. I looked down and thought, they're still celebrating behind the restaurant glass. And here I am. I did something they never expected. Not because I wanted their approval, just because it was mine. The phone beeped again. Lots of messages. One from my mother, another from my father. The last one was from Daniel. We need to talk. Seriously. I didn't answer. Not yet. Instead, I called Sophia. We got Datasphere X, I said when she answered. I know, the whole team knows. The whole city, I think. It's true, we did it. You did it. We did. She paused. And now what? Now I'll call my mother. Then I'll sleep. And tomorrow, a new chapter begins. The next morning, the news was everywhere. Aether founder leaves family dinner to close deal of the century in person. $1.65 billion. The biggest data analytics deal of the year. Allison Crown. From restaurant terrace to billion-dollar contract in one night. Sarah walked into my office with a laptop. Your father gave an interview. He talks about you for the first time, and he acknowledges you. What did he say? What you've been wanting to hear for a long time, although, of course, in his style. I smiled. It was important. Not because he finally understood me, but because I no longer depended on his opinion. The day ended with a party at the office. Champagne, laughter, hugs. People who truly believed in me, supported me, worked side by side. This was my family, the one I chose myself. And as I raised my glass to make a toast, for the first time in a long time, I felt whole. Not struggling, not trying to prove anything. Just me. Here's to us, I said. For those who believed when no one else did. For those who built with me. For those who stayed, even when the world seemed against us. Applause, hugs, warmth, and a feeling I haven't felt in years. The night after the deal was quiet. So quiet, in fact, that I almost couldn't believe it had happened. The city was asleep, but the lights were on in the Aether Analytics office. We were alive. More than alive. We were on the cusp of something bigger. When I walked into the room where the team was gathered, lawyers, financiers, techies, my closest allies, they greeted me with applause. Not loud, not theatrical. It was a real, sincere moment of recognition. I raised my hand to quiet them. We did it, I said simply. But this is just the beginning. Everyone understood. $1.65 billion was not just a number. It was proof that we were no longer a startup hiding in the shadows of the big players. We were one of them. No, We were the next big thing. The next morning, the news broke online. Allison Crown has made the most important deal of the year. Family dinner, a helicopter, and billions. How one woman showed that true power is in the decision, not the approval. A restaurant patio sparked one of the biggest mergers in tech history. I woke up to a call from my mother. "He wants to talk to you," she said quietly. "Okay," I said. "Let him call." Half an hour later, the phone rang again. It was my father. "Allison?" he said, and his voice sounded different. Not like his usual cold, confident, with a hint of hidden discontent. Now there was something new in it. Something like respect. "I read the articles." "I know," I said softly. You're great. What you did, it's important." I froze. Those were the first words he had ever said to me that didn't compare me to Daniel or accuse me of being different. It was a simple, honest admission, and it was worth more than any reward. "Thank you, Dad," I said. "It means a lot to me." He paused. "Maybe you could show me how things work? In the office?" His voice wavered. He wasn't used to asking, but he was doing it now. "Of course," I answered. "Come tomorrow." The office greeted us with light and movement. People were working, laughing, discussing plans for the coming months. My father entered cautiously, as if he was afraid that he didn't belong here. But as soon as we started walking around the floors, getting to know the team, he began to change. His gaze became different, attentive, even a little tremulous. "Did you create all this?" he asked, stopping at a stand with a world map where the dots of our offices glowed. "We created," I corrected. The idea. They, the implementation." He nodded, silently. For the first time, it seemed, he really saw me. Weeks passed, months. Relationships with my family slowly but noticeably changed. My mother began to ask what machine learning was. My father subscribed to our blog. Daniel wrote a message. "Maybe we should have lunch? I have something to say." "No kidding," I answered briefly. "Okay." And this time I knew. I was not going for approval, not for the restoration of justice. I was going because I wanted to see them, not as they were, but as they are. And I give them a chance to see me, as I have become. One evening, I went out onto the roof of the office. The lights of the city flickered below. The world was huge, noisy, moving, and I stood in the center of it all, feeling how everything inside became light. Sophia came up to me with 2 glasses of wine. "Are you happy?" she asked, handing me one. "Yes," I answered. Not because I outplayed everyone, not because I proved something, just because I am me. And I chose my path. And I did not give it up, even when they sat me down on the terrace. She smiled. "You have always been stronger than you think." We drank in silence. We looked at the city that never slept, like my company, like my life. That's how this story ended. But another one began, about a woman who stopped looking for approval and began to build a world where she is appreciated, where her name does not cause bewilderment, but commands respect, where her family may not understand everything, but begins to accept who she is. And if you are now in a place where you are underestimated, where you feel like you are out of place, remember, your path has a right to exist. Even if others do not understand it, you have the right to be where you are. And sometimes the most powerful step is to just keep going, even if no one is looking. Because one day, someone will look. And then you will already be where you wanted to be. If this story touched you, share your story. Tell how you found yourself, despite everything. Subscribe, like, and share this with someone who now needs a word of strength. Thank you for being with me until the end. And remember, the most important approval is your own.